Welcome to another edition
It's
of
catchy.
the Blue Review. Yes, I love our theme song so much.
Should get it as a ringtone.
Yeah.
That would be
People,
great.
people still use ringtones. I feel like everybody puts their phone on silent all the time anyway.
I don't know the last time I actually had my phone on loud, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have Do Not Disturb on all the time.
Just vibrate. I can't
Yeah.
do not disturb. I need
Yeah.
to know that something is coming in. But yeah.
Man, well, another great day. 5 wins in a row for the Dodgers in the second half, so things are looking up. But there is a lot to get into, guys. The trade deadline is so close, right around the corner. Glasnow
6 days
tonight. Just 6 days, and there's so many rumors swirling around. We want to get to all of them. So, who cares how we're doing? We're going to get straight into Dodgers talk. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone that here at the Blue Review, we're presented by Los Angeles International Airport and our friends at LAX, saving guest time, just transforming the travel experience, and reducing traffic. Tons of great stuff. And if you want to learn more, you can check it out at flylax.com/transforminglax. So let's just get straight into the talk. Yesterday, we got to go over the game real quick. Landon Knack, another solid performance from a young Dodger. The Dodgers just seem to be getting great outings from the youngins. Marcus, how do we feel about last night's matchup?
It was good. It was what it needed to be, right? I mean, it wasn't, spectacular, but he got outs. He limited the Giants to just the one run. He was solid, and they got just enough offense. I mean, Gavin Lux continues to hit the ball well. What did I hear? He's hitting like 400 over the last few games, the last week or so.
Mm-hmm.
They got a couple big hits from Shohei. It was wild because they made a big point of Shohei is 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts, and then he rips a double and then he gets an RBI single, and it's like this is what Shohei does. But otherwise, he's fine. Otherwise, it was just kind of a nice workman-like performance. A little shaky in the 9th inning. Vesey has struggled with control. Evan Phillips walked the bases loaded, but got out of it. So easy peasy. We're on to game 3.
Yeah, it was really nice to see Landon Knack just continue to be a legitimate pitcher for this team and see what he can do moving forward. He doesn't throw very hard, but he gets outs, and he did exactly that against a bad team in the Giants. How good does it feel, by the way, to say bad team in the Giants? Like that, just nice. Those two things just work together so well for me. So that feels really nice. But yeah, he did what he needed to do. And by the way, yes, Gavin has been playing really, really well, and also, crazy to say, Chris Taylor has like an 820 OPS over the last month or something like that. Like, that's really good. So he's actually flashing the leather really well at third when he's over there. So I mean, hopefully those are the kind of things that can go on. But I still want some more stuff, Parker.
Well, I would just you bring up those two names. I mean, what are the odds that the only two guys the Dodgers gave a long leash happen to be figuring things out as we near, the second half of the season? Then the Dodgers maybe know what they're doing.
Are you trying to say that Andrew Friedman knows more than we do?
That and, then Dave Roberts being around these guys every single day knows more than we do?
Maybe it's a little bit. Maybe.
Maybe.
But honestly, come on. When it comes to Taylor, though, he was 9 for 90. Like, let's be real here. It's not like there was anybody else in the entire world would have thought anything other than DFA this man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was rough. There was no doubt about it. I mean, the dude was hitting under 100 at some point early in the season. And I think it was a situation where we all looked at, we're like, you can't, it would be nice if they had time to sort of let him work things out. But, they're in a situation where they had guys that needed to be in the lineup every day. There just wasn't an opportunity for him to sort of work things out. Now, as things have worked out, he's been forced to be in the lineup a little more often as you've had more injuries. You've been shuffling on the infield, especially the left side of the infield, shuffling things around. So he has gotten more at bats sort of by necessity, and things have kind of worked themselves out. But no, you're right. Early in the season, there was just no room for him to play because he was awful.
Yeah. So, and I see this in the chat from BC, who was one of the great, commenters in here. He said, Taylor still sucks, 164. Okay. Yes, he is 164, but you have to take into account that he started 9 for 90. Like,
he was 80. I think it was 89.
If this was a race, he started by running 50 yards backwards and then had to turn around and catch up with everybody. So that's kind of where he is now.
Right. So if you that 164 is over the entire season, he pushed it up to 164, meaning that he had to go nuts to get it up to 164. Over the last 30 is probably what you want to be looking at. And it's still not great by any means. He's probably still batting somewhere around 260 to 300. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but it's probably not some mass. He's not batting 450, but still, it's better and you in a time where you need it, and he's getting hits.
Yeah.
So that's all we're saying. We're not saying that anything else besides that.
No, thank you for being interactive in the chat. Send all your, by the way, send all your questions your way. I know we might have a lot of trade deadline questions, so by all means, throw them in there. We'll get to them. Another name real quick I wanted to mention just in regards to having a good outing last night, Brent Honeywell.
He's been
the
great.
Dude has been solid since he's come. And I mean, I want to get your initial thoughts, like how great he's been and just what he could be moving forward as we head towards the playoffs.
So I think he's 7 scoreless. He's been fantastic. He has a couple of like different pitches that they're working on with him. He has been really, really good. If he's a guy that they can make into a solid reliever to be able to kind of like a right-handed Yarbrough, I think you're going to be just fine with that. So yeah, if he could be a guy that sticks this way throughout the rest of the season into the postseason, great. But they're going to kind of evaluate more as it gets along. We don't know exactly what he's because he's only had 7 outings or 7 innings. So let's see what it happens to actually turn out to be. But right now, totally happy with everything Brent Honeywell has shown.
Yeah, I feel like this next month, 6 weeks or so, these are going to be, I think, auditions for guys to figure out, if they have a role in the postseason. Can you slot somewhere in the bullpen? Are you the long relief guy? Are you kind of a high leverage situational sort of guy? I mean, I think, Honeywell has certainly made a case that he deserves a longer look and can get to one of those like long relief spots in the bullpen because goodness knows the Dodgers have needed those guys the last few years. So yeah, I'm very pleased with what we've gotten out of him so far. Kind of a veteran guy who's bounced around the league, and maybe he's another reclamation project because Andrew Friedman has been really, really good at those lately.
Yeah, he absolutely has. And, if it's him over Johan Ramirez, I'll be absolutely happy.
Yeah, I'm surprised Ramirez is still hanging around.
Kind of shocking, right? He just keeps giving up runs. So I don't know why you would. I mean, maybe it's another one of those, hey, we know better than you things.
Maybe.
But,
maybe.
But
or
just needs another hug. Who knows?
Yeah. Right.
Get on that, Dave. Come on. So we've mentioned it nonstop this year. The Dodgers are moving different, as us kids say. They're moving different. They're acting up. Everything that they do this year is kind of different than they've done in the past when it comes to wanting to be all in, just making different moves and how they're DFAing people and the way that they're approaching this season. So a lot of names are linked to the Dodgers. And a lot of these names that we're talking about, like you said, Marcus, these guys who are kind of auditioning this last month and this month, these next couple of weeks, or now 6 days, are names that we may see moved or not on the Dodgers anymore. So a couple of the guys that the Dodgers are linked to, I want to get to our wants here on the Blue Review. I want to get to who we feel we would like to see. Marcus, I'll start with you. Starting pitching obviously is a huge need, and I know that you had someone in mind that is linked to the Dodgers.
Well, look, I mean, pie in the sky, everything falls into place. Tarek Skubal, I think, is the guy that I would love to see come in here. A young guy, a guy with some, with a power arm, who is pitching amazing right now, but understanding that the Tigers are going to ask a high price for him, and they should, right? If you're going to give up a guy who is, among the leaders for the Cy Young in the American League, who you have under team control for a couple of years, you should ask for the moon. And so I think that is sort of going to be out. I do think, there's the Crochet issue, but there's the issue of him already having passed his career high in innings. That seems dangerous on a team that has had some injury issues amongst the starting rotation. So I think Jack Flaherty might end up being maybe the best option. I get that he's an older guy, and maybe this ends up being kind of a short-term rental. Maybe they can convince him to stick around, and this resurgence can sort of continue. But I think he's sort of that. He's that mid-shelf liquor, right? Where it's like that combination of quality and price, and I think that's sort of what Jack Flaherty offers for the Dodgers.
So you mentioned Skubal first. Let's get start there. That's the big get. That's the get of the whole league. If you can somehow get Skubal, you are adding probably the AL Cy Young as of right now. So that's a massive get. You'd have to give away a ton, right? Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that can actually get done, but if you can, that's the get, 100%. Flaherty is one of those guys that, I know that earlier today, Parker was saying that he wanted Flaherty. You're talking about that mid-shelf liquor kind of guy with Flaherty. I'm not that high on Flaherty. I know I've looked into his stats. This season, he is probably his best season since 2019 when he was really, really good with St. Louis as his second year. But I don't know. I've seen too much of him where he's been bad. Even last year with the Orioles, which is a good team going into the postseason, that just was bad. He wasn't good. Now he's on a bad team and he's pitching well. It's kind of concerning to me. I don't. His numbers all look great. There's a whole bunch of other things, but he just hasn't been good enough for a while for me. And maybe it's just been like, okay, I'm like 6-7 years into my career, and I finally figured it out. I figured something out, and I could be wrong, but I'm not that high on Flaherty.
I'll ask you this though, with Flaherty, right? Like, let's say everything works out as it should, right? Glasnow is back in healthy. Yamamoto is able to come back. I know he's still targeting a September return. Gavin Stone is still pitching relatively well. Who knows what we get out of Kershaw, but at best, I feel like Flaherty's your fourth starter, and I feel like they can work with him as a fourth starter potentially.
Sure. No, look, if that's the case, but then if he's your fourth starter, then you're not really using him for the postseason. And how much are you giving up for him to get a guy that's going to be your fourth starter in the postseason where you're only going to use 3 pitchers? I know the way that they've changed the postseason, you can use 4 pitchers, but for the most part, it's a 3-pitcher system. I mean, it always has been. So, yeah, if that's the way that you're going to do it, sure, I get it, but I don't know. I wouldn't want to give up too much unless you're getting Crochet or Scooble or somebody along those lines.
Price is going to be important.
In the pitching way.
Price is going to be important for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah, because especially with what we're hearing from the White Sox, if you wanted both, Crochet and Luis Robert, the asking price is just
that's going to be really high,
ridiculous right now.
Sure.
Which maybe the Dodgers are willing to go all in, but I think there's other names out there, especially if you want to bolster that offense. Oh, in the outfield, I think there's other names that might be a little better, but we'll stick to the pitching names right now. Greg, I know I interrupted you, so I wanted to get your thoughts.
No, the pitching. I mean, for the pitching, look, if you're going to go after pitching, and you know what, to be honest with you, I know the pitching looks absolutely horrendous right now. It does, and it was just a nonsense. If it all works out the way that it's supposed to, I think there's a lot that's in-house, that there's enough pitching that we have as long as everything works out, which I hate saying, but if it's Glasnow, Yamamoto, Stone still pitching well, you have a really strong 3. And if you get if Kershaw happens to hit, or if Buehler comes back and looks like, oh my God, Buehler figured something out in Florida, or if Bobby Miller turns out he goes through his rehab, does one more rehab, and it's like, okay, Bobby Miller figured himself out again. You have stuff. If I'm going to give things away, I'm going to give it towards the offense. That's just the way that I look at it. I would love another starting pitcher but I would only really want a Crochet or a Scooble and 2 guys that will be absolutely make a difference in the postseason.
All I know is that when I bet the over on Flaherty's strikeouts, he always hits 17 for 17 this year. So, shout out to Jack for at least helping me out on Prize Picks.
No, there you go. So this is what I know it's pie in the sky, and this is very much never going to happen. But if I had my druthers, which again, sometimes I say words and like why I never say that in regular life.
That's an old person word.
Like a druthers.
You start eating some butterscotch candies now? Like, what's happening?
I have a couple in my pocket. Butterscotch. Just either way, if this is what I want, okay? So 2 trades, and I don't know what you're giving up. I want to give you have to give a lot away. I'm willing to give up basically the entire farm system this trade deadline if we have to, because I feel like this season is important to get to the World Series and win the World Series. You can rebuild that farm system. Andrew Freeman's great at it. I want both Arozarena and Robert, and I would want Isaac Paredes for a third baseman from Tampa Bay. So that means you're getting Paredes, Arozarena, and maybe you can get Eflin in that, Zach Eflin inside of that, where you have another starting pitcher that can give you innings, and then Robert, and maybe like a Crochet from Chicago, and then you have your outfield of Robert, Arozarena, Teoscar. Great outfield. You put Paredes at third, and then you have everything kind of worked out. And when Mookie gets back, he goes to second. That's the pie in the sky. Give me everything. That's what I'm looking for.
That is the definition of blockbuster. I mean, that would be the closest, because there aren't a lot of huge names available, I think, in this trade deadline, because so many teams still feel like they have a shot at things. that would be a blockbuster if they could pull something like that off.
Yeah. So what is it, Marcus? What do you want? Like, if you had your pie in the sky, I want these guys. Who is this?
It's Skubal for sure on the mound to go get him. I would say I would prefer Robert over Arozarena because I think he gives you a little bit more flexibility in the outfield. You could put him in center. You could put him at one of the corners. I think Arozarena is pretty much just a corner outfield and probably pretty much just a left fielder, I think, at this point. So that's kind of what I would want. I still like the idea of getting, say, a Taylor Ward or a Luis Rengifo. I know the Angels would never make a deal with the Dodgers. They just wouldn't. But I think those guys sort of saw, like Ward, especially. I think Rengifo even sort of solves a lot of your left side of the infield problems. Even Ward can play a little outfield if you need him to. So those are that would be the top of my wish list there.
What about you, Parker? What is the most pressing? What do you want? If you can get 3 dudes that it's all yours.
I think if I were to have the most ideal, if I were to put a number, if I were to rank them, my number one partner would be the White Sox. And I know that the asking price will be high, but I think I'm in the Les Snead type of vibe right now to get in the postseason. F them picks.
F them picks.
I want to see Rochette. I want to see Luis Robert. And then if you could even add in a third from that White Sox, like maybe a Michael Kopech or something, to kind of bolster, of course, that rotation again. I don't care if you're getting rid of Dalton Rushing, DePaula, if you're getting rid of even the River Ryans, who could possibly, I saw in the chat, people were saying River could even be getting October innings. That is true, but I also don't mind seeing him go if that's the asking price. So I would say White Sox would be my number one option to trade with. But if you can get rid of like maybe just a Cartaya, a quick 1-4 Flaherty, who we were talking about earlier, I think that actually is a pretty successful move in my eyes.
So that's gonna be tough. I mean, just Cartaya for Flaherty. If that's the case, sure, you absolutely make that move because you have a couple catchers down in the minors, and Dalton Rushing pretty much passed over Cartaya. So yeah, if you can do something like that, it'd be great. But I don't know. I don't know if they'd want just one prospect for him, especially since he's having a career year right now. And also when it comes to River Ryan, I don't know how you feel about this, Marcus, but when it comes to River Ryan, how highly they think of him, I'm not moving him unless you're getting Crochet or Skubal. I mean, it's kind of like your Jackson Holiday. It's not the same level by any means, but for the Baltimore, who has better prospects, it's like Jackson Holiday type level. Not the same, obviously, but like if you're moving him, it better be for something really, really, really good.
Sure.
So I'll say this: I liked what I saw out of River Ryan the other day. Does it concern anybody else though that the first time in his professional career he pitched into the 6th inning was his major league debut? Is that even a little bit worrisome? I know he's had some shoulder issues that's the thing that kind of struck me as like, a little nervous time. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I mean, he did it in the first start. So, I mean, I don't know. I
mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it's a thing to sort of build up that strength, that arm strength or what have you. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I just felt like, okay, like start 1 and this is the first time you've ever gone 6. Especially for a team that at least this year has needed length, and you would always like to be able to get some length out of guys. That's all. Maybe I'm overthinking it. That's fine.
No, I don't think you're overthinking it at all. Like length is the most important thing for this Dodgers team right now, because if you said, like you said, Greg, going into the playoffs, if you're running with just those top 3 guys, you need them to go deep. But I had a name real quick I just wanted to throw out there who is completely unrelated to pitching and outfield depth that I thought was interesting, because I think there's a team down south who's going to be finally sellers at the deadline. They're still very stupidly run, but Luis Rengifo, I think, is finally available, and we've mentioned this name a few times on the Blue Review, but I actually think for this Dodgers squad, the fit would be amazing, and the asking price wouldn't be as high as, let's say, if you're trading with the White Sox. So if you can get rid of, like, let's say, an Outman for Rengifo, and you're going to have to throw in a couple picks as well, or excuse me, a couple prospects. I'm thinking basketball, but I don't know if Rengifo would be all that bad. You're bolstering the bottom half of the lineup, and you have, more security when it comes to the left side of the infield outside of Muncy, who's like, who knows if he's going to play.
I doubt he plays, but I need you to just think about it for just a second, Parker. You are a fan of the Angels. You know who their owner is. The Dodgers just took Shohei Ohtani and paid him a bunch of money away from the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any part of you in your mind, that even to the dark recesses of your mind, that Artie Moreno would do any sort of trade with the Dodgers?
Perry Manassian would.
Again,
I
Artie
mean,
Moreno is your owner.
ideally, the Angels get out of their feelings about this because, like, it wasn't so much that Shohei chose the Dodgers, but he also just they put him in an environment where he chose to be away from you, and like
Exactly.
that's on you,
and in the same city, kind of.
right? So that's kind of on you. At some point, they get out of their feelings because if they really are interested in being sellers, right? If they really want to tear this thing down and rebuild it, which is probably the best thing to do, why not go to your neighbors up the road who have a deep farm system who can help you rebuild this thing in a relative hurry? So at some point, like, I don't know, like, maybe stop being salty about it and do what's best for the franchise instead of being spiteful, and then continue to just be, like Paul George would say, the B team in the market.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's doing too. But yeah, again, it's no matter what, it's Artie Moreno. I just can't see him doing it. I can't see him get out of your feelings. He will never get out of his feelings. If he got out of his feelings, he'd sell the team and make everybody in Orange County happy. It's just not gonna. Gonna happen.
That's step one. For sure.
I mean, you remember that they had the trade done with the Dodgers just a couple of years ago with Jock Peterson and Andy Pages, and they decided, no, it's taking too long. I'm out of here. Like, well, it was just so dumb, and they're never going to get out of their own way. I just can't see it. If it happens, fantastic. I'd love for it to happen, but I just don't see it. You guys can keep your pie in the sky thoughts there. I'll keep my pie in the sky. My pie in the sky thoughts to having the greatest outfield in the history of outfields. So,
I mean, here's the thing. Look, if the Dodgers or whomever is involved agrees to take down the Tommy Lasorda Memorial Highway sign from right outside Angel Stadium, will they make a deal? Because that's maybe. That's like the biggest middle finger to the Angels at all. They put like Tommy Lasorda Memorial Highway, like literally right near the big A, So if they agree to take that down, will the Angels make a deal?
No, maybe.
Artie probably wants that, whether it's a middle figure to Anaheim or not. He wants to be LA as much as possible. So screw.
No, you're right.
But anyway,
I never thought of it that way. They want the LA around stadium just to be a part of it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, they might as well open up like a Pan Burgers right next to the stadium. I don't know. So any other names that we can get to real quick before we kind of preview Glasnow's return? We mentioned the big two names, Skubal and Crochet, that we would absolutely love.
So the only one that I can really think of is Tanner Scott and the Marlins closer, and really just because I have been throughout this entire year saying Evan Phillips is my closer, and he has been pretty bad recently. I think 5 of his last 7 starts giving up runs, 4 of his last 7 starts giving up home runs. Or not starts, but appearances. That's not good, and he's starting to be where he's getting some mind stuff going on there. And I think it's because they're moving him all around. He doesn't know where he's going to be night to night when he thought he was going to be the closer. But if he's having a challenge, maybe it is time to start looking for a closer. I've always thought that closer was not a problem. It looks like it may be, Marcus.
It might be. If we're talking closers, maybe they offer a truckload to the A's for Mason Miller.
No, you have to give up everything. That's a Skubal level trade.
That probably is a Skubal level trade. But it's the A's. What are you doing? You're going to go to Sacramento for a couple of years, and then who knows what? You're going to be vagabonds beyond that if Las Vegas doesn't happen. Like, give up Mason Miller. It's fine.
It's fine. We can take him. We'll take the guy that throws 125 miles an hour consistently. Great.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we don't want only 12,000 eyes on him next year when they're playing in Sacramento.
Right.
I forget about Mason Miller sometimes because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
My whole thing is just go out and go do it all. Like this. Don't be afraid. Push your entire chips in. Give up all the prospects. It's fine. It's time to start doing it. This is the year. And then if you can get guys that have control over the next few years, great. But otherwise, give it all up. You need that title. You need it.
Do it. F them picks. All right. This was a great episode. We're going to be reacting all week as we near the trade deadline. But of course, tomorrow we'll react to Glasnow's performance from 9:30 to 9:55. Here on the Blue Review. But after months of just bad news, finally, we get good updates. Glasnow's back. Kershaw's back tomorrow. I should be there to react to that at the stadium, so I'll be able to talk about it on the Blue Review. Bruzdar a couple
Fantastic.
weeks away, and then Mookie taking hard hitting ground balls, being active. So lots of good news on the Dodgers end, lots of rumors. The Blue Review, don't miss it because we'll be here on the YouTube chat. Stay tuned for Travis and Sliwa up next. A lot to react to. Thank you to Marcus Grant. Thank you to Greg Bergman. This has been the Blue Review. I'm Parker Bell, and we will catch you mañana.
So
See you.